It's time once again for Evolved Sales Live. Welcome back. I'm Jonathan Fischer. Very happy to be your host on this special end-of-year holiday season episode of Evolved Sales. And we want to do something a little bit different. We've been on this amazing journey of this show here for about a year. And looking back over 2022, we realized that we've actually hit some of our very important goals, and they're not maybe what you think. Our goal setting out was to create a very high-value show where founders, business leaders, business development professionals inside of B2B companies, especially working with tech and services and venture-funded, could have a home where they can come and get truly actionable insights that they could turn around and put to use the very next week in their businesses to see better results. That's the goal. And as our team here was looking back at some of the guests that we've had on the show, it's been tremendously gratifying to see just how much value there was. So we kind of got together, took a look at the content that we've enjoyed over the last year, and it was kind of tough, but we narrowed it down to a top 5, but we aimed at top 5. We couldn't quite do it. We actually discovered that there were some other really good folks too whose content was so valuable. They ended up on an honorable mention list. So we could have gone with top 10, but instead we're going to go with top 5 plus. Jumping right in, we've got some snippets to share. We'll recap some of the insights of each of these guests, and hopefully this will be a real fun way for you, our listening audience, to kind of help celebrate our first very successful year as a show, and maybe walk away with a grab bag of insights you can take into your new year planning for your company and your business and personal success. So, taking a look at our list, we went through and we could not escape the great help that we got from Mr. Bill Stinnett. Bill is a very down-to-earth, very practical teacher, trainer, multiple best-selling author with proven methods. He's actually the founder of Sales Excellence, where he works with some of the world's most highly regarded companies. He helps them sharpen their sales with their hiring, training, their skills development. His titles include Think Like Your Customer, Selling Results, and his brand new hot off the presses book is The Digital Selling Handbook. We were very, very proud to help him get some pre-orders on that book. Bill's a great proven asset, and I would love to have you take a listen here to a little bit of what Bill had to share with us on the show. Let's listen in.
Really want to do is to create a dialogue and a conversation with clients, and so we need to be arming new people with what are the best practices in terms of the diagnostic questions that our very best salespeople are asking. So on this call we did earlier this afternoon, that's another topic that we discussed there. And what that team decided to do is they're going to collect 4, 5, or 6 good diagnostic questions, conversation starters, ways to get customers talking, and then just share that with the entire sales team so that we all have an additional arrow in our quiver or an additional tool in our tool belt to use so that we can start more conversations. It's really a matter of kind of collecting some of that and then making sure that's available. There is no reason that a person should start at a company and work there 6 months before they learn how to create sales opportunities or how to generate something. We should be teaching them on day 1. These are the questions you ask in this situation. When you go call on a bank, here are the 4 things you want to know. When you call on a retailer, here are the 3 things you're going to want to ask them about. We should make that just readily available day 1. Here are your assets.
Yeah, that was a great show, all about bringing new hires and really getting them around your veterans and getting them to ramp up a lot faster. The average time from your new hire being productive is taking way too darn long. I've seen estimates that it's up to upwards of 9 months. And we talked about how to get that to be closer to 9 days or 9 weeks. So really great episode. You should check it out on wherever you'd like to go get your podcast episodes. Next up on our list of honorable mentions was Mr. Jim Cathcart. Jim is one of those old school trainers. I mean, the man is pretty impressive. He's been in the game for a long time and always at the top of the game. He's a leading professional speaker. He's the author also of multiple best-selling books. His TEDx talk alone has garnered over 2.5 million views. He's presented over 3,300 speeches in every U.S. state and around the world. Really impressive guy. He's even been inducted into the International Sales and Marketing Hall of Fame. Love Jim. What I found with some of his insights is even though you may think of them as old school or timeless, they're also frequently forgotten. And but Jim is still at it and still sharing some insights. Look, if it's timeless, that means it's going to work anytime that you might want to implement it. Let's take a quick look here and see what Jim had to say on the show.
So what about objections? Well, first off, if they object to buying, it's already gone too far. Well, no, there are ways to handle excuse me. Why call it an objection? Because if they say, I object, you're already adversaries. Now, is everyone in every instance concerned about the price? Of course they are. Do they object to the price? Not necessarily. So why not address it while it's only a concern? Everyone's concerned about whether they can trust you and your company and your product or your service. Everyone's concerned about whether the price is reasonable and whether they can afford it. Everyone's concerned about whether you'll follow through and your delivery will fulfill the hopes that they have. Why not address all that while they're just concerns? Make it part of your sales dialogue so that the next stage is just making it easy to say yes.
Yeah, so elegant for how simply true it really is, and we easily forget. One of the great things about our episode with Jim is that it really drew out how powerful language is, not just in the way that we present our product offering in the marketplace, but also the way we ourselves think about what we're doing. Like really that mindset shift, it's easier for me to say, that he was talking about there is a whole lot more about me as the speaker. Am I thinking that as an objection, like we're an opposition, or am I thinking of it as a concern somewhere where I can help them? Love that. Tons of great insight from Jim. He remains a great asset to everybody out there. Check out his episode on Spotify, Apple, wherever you like to get your podcast episodes. I want to take a brief pause here and mention to you folks, those of you listening to me live, I'm still game to do a Q&A at the end. I mean, one of the fantastic things about my role here as host of the show is I get an education. Every single time I meet one of these guests, I get to interact with them, learn their story, and learn some of these key insights they have as subject matter experts. And maybe some of that is soaked in. Who knows? So if you've got some questions you want to hit me with at the end, maybe ask something about, maybe from a personal angle, some of the guests that we've had on the show, I'm totally game for that. Feel free to begin to drop those into the chat here live, and we'll spend, as we customarily do, a little time afterwards and interact on your questions. So next up on our list of honorable mentions is Monica Rosika Kenter. Now, Monica's a really popular guest. We've had her on more than once because she's just really good at giving a tactical edges based on daily testing in the real world of social selling. So she's a fantastic expert in the space. She's a highly regarded speaker, podcaster, and trainer in her own right. She's also the business development officer for the company called Ready for Social, which is a proprietary social selling content distribution platform. In interacting with her, what I feel like their company kind of does automation the right way. There's certainly some wrong ways to do that. And she had some really great things to say. One of the things I love about having Monica on the show is I can kind of just cut her loose. And, every sentence just has some really good content to it, almost without fail. Let's take a quick listen to Monica.
So that's one thing that decision makers also hate, right? If you approach them kind of in a friendly way and then they accept your connection request and the next boom is the sales pitch. So it's, in my opinion, again, as I said, you can be transparent that you're trying to sell something, but at least then, really, if you use automation software, really narrow down the audience to whom you send a certain type of messages. And, really be very specific and very targeted and address a specific pain point that you're helping them solve. And make it clear in your messaging that you are trying to help them, what they can expect for you and what's in it for them to engage with you. Don't try to be, on the one hand side, don't try to make it look like a casual networking and then hit them with your sales pitch as soon as they accept your request.
Yeah, tons of great what to do, what not to do type of insights like that from Monica. What a great guest she's been on the show, and well-deserved slot on our list of honorable mentions. Moving on to the next entrant into our list here is Simon Warman-Fried. And Simon, the thing about Simon is he's actually has an ability to make a, frankly, kind of mundane, seemingly, topic and make it interesting and super valuable. He's the founder and CEO of IBG International, which is a boutique sales and marketing consultancy, which has a focus on helping businesses accelerate growth using a data-driven approach. Now, it's funny about data because you talk about, business data and data-driven. It sounds kind of sexy, but the fact is it gets a little dry when you take a look at numbers. And a lot of folks get, the eyes gloss over when you start to look at the data. The great thing about Simon is he's got a way to show you, all right, well, here's this key insight, and it makes it really fascinating when you start to see what are some of the key insights you can gain by taking a closer look, and what kind of data should you be gathering as a head of marketing, or maybe you're the sales manager, any of the leadership within a company. What kind of data is valuable and important to be gathering, and how do you glean insights from it? Let's take a quick listen to what Simon had to share with us on the show.
Very important when you start thinking about your business and you start thinking about growth, actually what you can do for yourself in order to help that process, and that's have a data collection strategy, call it data collection strategy, which is all around what data can you collect when that's going to add value and help you and help your customers as well. So it's not just about a one-way scenario, it's got to be a two-way scenario, so it's got to be a value to your customers, but ultimately that brings in that level of detail so that you get to be able to know your prospect, know your customer, and be able to then engage with them.
Yeah, I mean, just like that, and you can see how personable he is. It certainly helps your cause when your topic would otherwise be a little dry. With Simon, it's not dry at all. Really fascinating guy to speak with, and super helpful if you're trying to generate some quality insights for your company. Loved having him on. You're welcome back anytime, Simon. Moving on to our next entrant, Mr. Todd Clouser. Talk about another interesting guy. The phrase that comes to my mind with Todd is he's got a different take on marketing specifically. And he really brings a content creator's background to the conversation. He spent a decade doing things in video production, digital, social media, and all of that before he became the lead brand marketing manager at Refine Labs. They're a really cool marketing research development firm which helps companies innovate their revenue engine, modeled kind of the way you do product development. They've got a really innovative look at that. The thing about Todd is he's very, it's a worn out phrase, outside the box, but it suits him. He's definitely outside the box. If you check him out on LinkedIn, which you definitely should, he's a social media really kind of a creative genius. A lot of the stuff that he does there is things that not just anybody could get away with, but he's a great model for you if you're looking for a way to stand out on whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever the format is you want to use in terms of social. On the show, he had a really valuable insight that he shared in terms of a disconnect that many marketing and sales teams have between each other inside of a lot of companies, and the nature of that disconnect and his recommendations as to what should be done about that. Let's take a listen.
Marketing, we have an MQL target. So you start getting towards the end of the month, and for the sake of round numbers, you need to create 100 MQLs, and you're only at 60. Now, I'm going to start putting budget or doing things to just generate as many leads coming in as I possibly can, because I'm not measured on if they close or not on the marketing team. I'm just measured on how many I can get to give to my SDR.
Yeah, talk about the power of language. We're talking about, marketing qualified leads, MQLs, doesn't have a lot of meaning in many cases. If it's just it's just a contact to talk to. Really shifting that energy away from just driving leads to actually driving demand. It could be really transformational for marketing departments and even marketing companies out there today. What a great message Todd brings. Check him out on LinkedIn. It's a place I'd start with Todd. He'll lead you down a rabbit trail that you'll enjoy the ride for sure. Well, The time has arrived. And by the way, before we get to the top 5, of course, I've got to give a mention to our fantastic sponsor. We are powered proudly by overpass.com. And, I've been around a minute myself. I've worked in helping businesses in different areas of marketing, brand management, and scaling for growth myself. And in my career, I've seen a lot of solutions for growing sales teams quickly, and I've never seen anything that comes close to what overpass.com has been able to achieve. If you are a hiring manager and you need to build a team of stars very quickly, and they're super good people, and it's going to be well within your budgetary constraints, you need to check them out. Go to overpass.com, create your free account. You put the first post up, and the AR starts sending you candidates that look fantastic. You can click and listen to voice samples, and then here comes a phone call from a super friendly, no-cost executive assistant, essentially, that can also help connect you to really talented people. I mean, in days, you can have everybody that you need on your team to grow to that next level. So if you're looking for your New Year's plans, make sure you check out overpass.com, get that account created, and just see how amazing that solution is for your business growth goals for the coming year. All right, well, the time has arrived. Our top 5, beginning with 5 on our list, is Mr. Tim Hughes. Now, Tim has literally been called the world's #1 social selling influencer, according to LinkedIn. Just a wee little feather in the cap right there. He's also a best-selling author on the topic. He has his own company called DLA Ignite, which is all about helping you to master your digital marketing space when it comes to LinkedIn and social. And he has some fantastic things to share with us on the show as well in terms of really getting your game starting from your profile itself. Like, most people are making the most rudimentary errors, even in terms of what your LinkedIn profile looks like. Let's take a listen to what Tim had to say about that.
If you Google your name, and Google loves LinkedIn because it's full of content, what will happen is the first thing, unless you've got like a personal website, the first thing that you will see is it will have your photograph, it will have your name, and it will have your summary title. Your job as a salesperson is to basically get someone to come and look at your LinkedIn profile and go, oh, that's interesting. If your summary title is sales manager, I think there's 4 million of them on LinkedIn. There's certainly 6 million CEOs. And there's over 100,000 thought leaders for the people who think that, this is about having a title, about a title that's going to create curiosity in the person to come and look at your profile. So if you come and look at my profile on LinkedIn, most people will say, I've never seen anything like that. Now, if you've got the professional edition of LinkedIn, so not Sales Navigator, but the one, the next level up from basics, which is what I have. As soon as someone comes and looks at your LinkedIn profile, you know that they've looked at you. So you've got that ability to have a conversation. So anybody who Googles you, goes, that's interesting, looks at your profile. They may not do anything. They may go away. You know that they've looked at your profile. You've got an opportunity to have a conversation. So 25% of the people who look at my LinkedIn profile turn into business.
Wow, 25%. That's huge.
Yeah. So what you're doing is that the great thing about social is it places you in control. We've always been told as a salesperson, we need to control the sales process, and social provides that.
Yeah, the results really tell the story when it comes to what Tim is sharing there. I mean, imagine having 1 out of 4 people who even visit your profile do a Zoom call or a phone call with you. That's pretty powerful stuff. So Tim's book and his insights online are definitely way worth your time to go and check out. Number 4 on our list, we come to Ian Cognac. Now, Ian is, to me, I think high energy. It's probably one of the first things I think of when it comes to Ian. He's super passionate about what he does. He's got a really cool personal story as well, kind of a story of having some success, having some issues in life, and he's a recovery success story. He's happy to share that with anyone that talks to him. And he works today as a renowned sales coach. He's a corporate trainer and a keynote speaker. He's also the dean of the Enterprise Sales School of Pavilion University. And he makes a really key point. If there's one area that you could focus on in terms of your game for this coming year, Ian really puts his finger right on it for you here. Let's take a listen.
We want to make, a lot of money in sales and you want to get to that top level, you better get comfortable talking to executives. So whether it's a C-suite or whether it's an SVP or an EVP or a VP level, typically that's the level that I kind of bundle together when I say executives, right? Sure. So it's everything. There's a recent stat that said that if you don't, it came from Gong, if you're not engaged with executives or decision makers that are economic buyers and can pull the trigger, your likelihood of winning a deal is 80% lower than if you are in SMB. And in enterprise, it's 233% lower. And those stats came from analyzing literally tens of thousands of opportunities and all the data around that to see engagement with decision maker is by far the number one, by a landslide, indicator of whether a deal is closed. So it's everything in sales, and especially for big deals.
And Ian goes on to back that up with insight after insight that you could go and take action on to do just that. So let me add my challenge to his and say, hey, take it on. A lot of sales professionals will start wherever they can get a phone conversation, but let's aim for the top. It may be a little tougher, but if you can increase your results 80 to 200%, probably worth the extra effort. Hopefully we'll have Ian back sometime. What a great voice his is. We come to number 3, Mr. Chris Rudegrop. Chris is kind of a friend of the channel. He's been on more than once. And the thing I love about Chris is he's hands-on, down to earth. He's very generous in sharing his insights. And he's just kind of one of those leaders that is very focused on doing the right things the right way. And he's happy to share and talk about it. When you talk to Chris, your first impression is not ego, even though he's accomplished some really great things as the co-founder of an award-winning company. It's called Sendoso. It's the world's leading platform that allows sales teams to automate and scale their gifting strategies and deliver better outcomes, basically. But he's not proud. He's happy to share, and he's always dropping just golden gems every time we get him on the show. Let's take a quick listen. He definitely shared one key aspect of leadership that far too often does get forgotten inside of companies all across the country. Let's listen in.
As the founder, you kind of are the culture of the company. And so you have to be very apparent in what you do and what you don't do. And you're very much a public figure to the company all the time. And so I think you have to be like overly aware of that and make sure that your actions are leading to the company culture that you want to build. I think that's important too.
Short, sweet, and like a blow to the solar plexus. It's a great reminder. A lot of leaders forget this, but you are the culture of your company. So, men and women all across the nation are thinking about ways to improve their companies. But you know what? A lot of times it starts with the man or the woman in the mirror and really thinking about, all right, what do I want to have happening in my company from that cultural standpoint? Meaning, what is the ethos? Like what, almost the moral underpinning to a certain extent of what I want to be have happening in my company. Is this truly a flat organization where there's respect across the board? I need to example that. Am I take 100% of ownership? I need to example that. So there's a really great sort of obvious, but very easy to forget tidbit there about leadership. Chris had a lot more golden gems to share in his episode, and I hope we'll have him back again on the show in the coming year. All right, coming up next then is number 2 on our list. We're almost there, everybody, to our number 1 slot, but number 2 is coming in strong, Matt Wallach. Matt is one of those guys that he's just kind of easy to talk to. Like you could just sit, have a beer with the guy, and he's just going to share things that are just really interesting and really helpful. And guess what? They're probably also very much tested in the real world and really tested, measurable insights. That's kind of what Matt brings. He's actually an executive trainer and thought leader by day, if you will, but he's actually sharing his high-impact insights from his own experience in founding more than a dozen successful venture-funded SaaS companies. One of his businesses has actually landed on the Inc. 5000 list for fastest growing 5 years in a row. Maybe he's got a thing to tell the rest of us that are in the space, right? So Matt talked about what it really takes to build a better pitch and lead. Let's take a listen to what Matt had to say to us on the show.
That's around the faster you get to them, the better. So we put in, get to them within 15 minutes. We saw an increase in our conversions. But actually, the data recently that's come out is if you can get to them within 5 minutes. If you can get to that lead within 5 minutes and respond to them. And by respond, please don't just email them saying, hey, we got this. No, call them. If you can call them, it's the best chance of success for your lead. Not just in connecting with them, not just in getting them to call, but actually converting them with them.
Yeah, so talk about tested and from the real world. He was sharing there about a statistic correlating the lead flow from your marketing to response from your sales, and they tested it 6 ways to Sunday and found that faster is definitely better, and not in a little, intuitively you would think that, but it was exponentially better results if you could have a way to call that lead in just minutes instead of waiting, past 15 minutes, an hour, same day, or even worse, beyond that time frame. Lots and lots of very much real-world based insight that Matt shared on his episode, and we'd love to have Matt back anytime. All right, it's time for the number one slot, the top, most valuable, most lauded and appreciated episode of our whole year, which is a very high bar indeed. Lots of great insight, and we thank all of our fantastic guests. But number one, there can only be one, is Mr. John Livesey. John came on the show almost with a completely different angle and shared with us the power of story in winning the deal. And that's already sounds kind of different, right? How does story really get it done? And John really, I think, kind of makes the point in this clip that we have to share with you why story can actually have the power to do that. Let's listen in.
Here's the unspoken question everybody has when they hear you pitch. Will this work for me? They might trust you and like you, but if they don't think it's going to work for them, they're not going to buy it. And that's where storytelling comes in. Because when you know how to tell a story that other people see themselves in so much, they say, oh, I want to go on that journey with you. That sounds like me.
Yeah, and John went on to differentiate between, say, like your case studies or white paper type information, those approaches to sharing like customer success stories. You'll hear those talked about. We're not talking about just customer success stories. We're talking about literally sharing like what was the drama behind it? Like what was your customer actually going through, or what were you going through when you discovered the solution that you're now sharing with your prospect? What a fantastic voice John is. He's just a generous and important message for our time. There are a lot of forces at work that I think that can be depersonalizing, and I think what John Livesey gave us in terms of the content on our show today that he was on with us was a way to cut through all of that sort of the digital aspect of it and really deeply humanize your appeal, which you still may be giving over a social media platform. You may be using a Zoom call to convey your message. But if you can humanize it in a powerful way, you're going to have much, much better results, exponentially better results. John's a great keynote speaker. He's a 4-time best-selling author. You should definitely go check him out. It's John Livesey, just like it sounds. It's on the screen there. And John, we love you. I say that I have a decidedly friendly relationship with John. I literally only just met him to be a guest on the show, but the reason I say that is because I decided that we were going to be friends because he's just kind of one of those guys. So, John, thanks so much for being on the show, and we hope to have you back soon for sure. Well, we're also very grateful for all the listeners on our show, and what a year it's been. I want to share just a few statistics with you to kind of wrap up our first year together. We've had 37,942 unique event visits here on these LinkedIn Lives, and we've had 9,268 viewers over the lifetime, with over 1,000 live viewers, with over 40 subject matter experts as guests on our program. It's been a fantastic ride, and here's the good news. We're just getting started. We're going absolutely nowhere. We have a lot of plans to be leveling up the show in the coming years. So I hope you guys that are listening are as excited as I am. Continue to tune in. As you know, Evolve Sales is recorded every Friday afternoon live, so you can come, bring your questions, and get insights in real time. Make sure that you continue to come and invite your friends in the coming year. Well, let's check it out. Let's see if we're going to have a little bit of Q&A here before we call it quits for this fine Friday afternoon. I should call it a frozen Friday afternoon. I'm here in the Midwest. It's a little bit cold today, but let's take a look here. So, Michael, you're asking me a very personal question. Do I ever just flat disagree with any of the guests, any particular instance? And thank you for your thanks. I've really, really enjoyed it. And what a great seat I get to sit in here as the host. Michael, to answer your question, do I ever just flat disagree? Yeah, it definitely does happen. What's even more awkward is when the guest flatly disagrees with me. I do hesitate to give specific instances. I'm sure you can understand why. I don't want to like call anybody out. They were kind enough to come and be a guest on our show, so I'm gonna disappoint you on on that level of specificity. But I will give you an example. I did recently have a guest come on. And we always do some pregame. I had, as a previous call, we talk about what we're going to be talking about, and we had a plan. I was super excited about this person sharing on topic, and when they got here, they questioned the whole premise and almost positioned it like I was off, like the topic wasn't what they really wanted to talk about. So it's just funny. It can get a little awkward when that happens. I just smile my way through and continue to ask questions and hopefully try to present value to the listener the best that we can. So thanks for that question. Yeah, definitely. It's pretty funny. You got a LinkedIn user. I just like to comment. I think this is pretty funny. Don't feed me crap marketing. Yeah, I like it, right? There's a lot of stuff that's just stale and old and crap. Let's level it up, man. Let's make it interesting and helpful, right? And so Josh is asking me a question here. Thanks for that. If I could interview one guest, anyone in the business and leadership world, who would it be and why? Well, there's a few names that are popping into my brain right now, and I'm ranking them. I'm trying to decide who would be tops, and I'm going to have to say it's probably Simon Sinek. I really, really like Simon's stuff. Simon Sinek is one of those guys that is able to just find that little extra layer, a little deeper, even on stuff that you kind of already knew. Maybe you kind of had already heard it. And yet he still manages to find a new level of value in that concept. And he's got some new stuff that he says as well. It brings a lot of value to the space of leadership. I really resonate with his whole model of leadership, like the Leaders Eat Last book, which I would just say that's kind of the servant leadership model, something that I've always been a big fan of for my whole adult life. So yeah, probably Simon Sinek would be it. Obviously, there's lots of people that could go on that list, but I'm going to stick with just that one name. Thanks for that question, Joshua. I love it. Yeah, and Michael Novik's also identifying with what our old-timer, I love it. One of my favorite things is when somebody that's been in the game for longer than I've been alive still has got it going on, right? They're still dropping gold nuggets. They've still got energy, passion for what they're doing. Love that. And that was Jim Cathcart to a T, and that was Jim's insight. Thanks for noticing that, Michael. I'm right there with you, brother. And yeah, a sneak peek on the coming year. Well, I'll tell you what. There's not a lot I can tell you that wouldn't maybe put me in the position of spoiler. I do thank you for the question. But I definitely gonna have my team working on getting guests that maybe are getting toward or maybe at the level of Simon Sinek. So I would say that we're going to continue to level up the quality of the already good quality of the guests that we have. So maybe begin to look for some names that are at that next level up the rung, if you will. Let's see here. Yeah, so see if there's anything. I'm game for any more Q&A. Ask me anything time. Looking through here. Well, you're very, very kind. You put a big smile on my face. We have a LinkedIn user just saying that I'm the equivalent of the guy from Inside the Actors Studio. That's a cool show. And so that's high praise. I really, really appreciate you saying that. Hey, I'm always looking for ways to improve my own game. I will say, back to what Michael was asking, maybe one more sneak peek I can give you. We've been redeveloping ways to even, make our already fast-paced show maybe even that much more fast-paced. The way that we get the content delivered. We've been really working hard. We've gotten some expert advice. We're pretty convinced we've got a good lead on several key things we're going to do that I think are going to make the way the content is delivered and the way you can take it and use it be even that much more on point. So we're definitely going to be leveling up our game for the coming year. All right. Well, man, this is great. You know, never know. We're here on a Friday right before Christmas. You never know how much of an audience you're going to have, but here we still have a lot of faithful listeners, and I know a lot of you probably will be listening on replay over the coming week. And so I want to end where I began, with my thanks to you as our wonderful, faithful audience. Look for even better things in the year to come. We're very proud to be here with you and sharing these insights with you. I get to learn and present it to all of you. I'm having a ball. I hope you are too. And please accept the best wishes of our entire team here on the show and at Overpass for a fantastic holiday season. I hope you make it a great one with yourself and your loved ones. Make some memories to last. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care. That's going to do it for today.